Are we going? Oh, wait, recording. All right. Ba-da-ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, boom, ba-da-bum-bum, boom, bum, ba-da-ba-da-bum-bum-bum-bum. Good morning, it is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo, with yet another episode of Redstone, LAPIS, LAZULI. Hello, good morning. Switch over here. Alrighty then, yes. Hello, welcome, good morning. Happy Sunday morning. It is Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, where we recall the great civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr. Oh boy. Yeah. A lot has happened and not a lot has happened. I did a show in the middle of the week, and that kind of like I probably shouldn't have done that show, but I kind of had, I don't know, I did. And so now, yeah, what do I talk about? Oh boy. All right, I got a bunch of stuff, right? So over here, let's go look over here. I've sort of gotten this thing going here. You can see there's the glow squid are spawning there, and they have a bunch of axolotls, and then they will eventually, when they feel like it, attack this guy, and then he'll die, and then I get all his drops. But the problem is that a lot of times, like you can see right there, see it's happening already. But a lot of times the item gets stuck. It won't actually go into the hopper. So I have to like work on this more a little bit. But yeah, I mean it works. I spent a lot of time just figuring out basic stuff. I mean, it wasn't that hard. I also spent a lot of time. Well, the big thing was getting the axolotls. I had to travel a lot of blocks to find the axolotls. It was kind of silly. The other thing I did was I made I found a fortress stronghold, and then I made a rail line to that fortress. It's not even marked yet. That's how new it is. Ooh, that's not the right one. It's this one. Okay, I made a fortress there. And I made a really bad train line to it. And I haven't beaten it yet, because to beat it would require lots of... I mean, I have to go there, and I haven't even gotten the portal open yet. To get the portal, I need a bunch of ender eyeballs. Which means I need to kill a bunch of endermen to take their balls and make them into ender eyeballs. That way I can go to the end, defeat the ender dragon, and go find an elytra, because those things are great. Yeah. But more importantly, well, just as important as the elytra are the shulker boxes. Yes, the shulker boxes. That's what I need to do any big projects. I always run out of space in my inventory. So shulker boxes will help me to engage on a big project that I want to do. So like it's a step. It's step by step. And I didn't do this on camera because it's boring. Like, who wants to see me dig through a nether tunnel for like thousands of blocks? Nobody. No one cares about that. But what I do find interesting is that, remember, if you guys have ever read the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and it's been a while since I've read them, so I don't really remember, but they have this big ogre dude who's their friend, and he's smart. And the ogre people made like pathways through a special dimension that the group uses to traverse long distances, the ogre pathways. But the roads are really dark and dangerous to use the ogre pathways. And I'm like, man, this is just like the ogre pathways right here. You use like another dimension to go really, really far, but it's dark and dangerous. And it took a lot of work to make. Okay, yeah. So here we are. I found the nether portal or the end portal, but you can see there's no eyeballs in place yet. So it will take me a while to find it. And then check this out. I would have never found this place because to find it, here's like the entrance, right? You walk in, or like, actually, this isn't the entrance. The entrance is like over here. You come in from up there. You come in from up there to come down. And then this is a blank wall. I had to break this wall to come in and find the end portal. If I didn't break that, if I didn't know about breaking the wall, I would have just wandered this place forever, and not been able to find my find the end portal. I would have thought that the thing was broken. But yeah, like, I would have never found it if I tried to be legitimate about it. So what I did is I went into creative mode just to look around. Ooh. The library, dark and scary. Ooh, there's a box. Any more chests in here? A little bit scary, a little bit scary. Okay, I don't see any more chests. So I'm gonna go back to the end portal. I can find it. But yeah, I have nightmares about wandering aimlessly throughout dungeons, because I've done it before. Where I found a dungeon and I wandered through it forever looking for the end portal. I can never find it. And it makes me think that it was never generated. Or if it was generated, it was generated behind a wall that I would never find it if I just played it normal. Look, and yeah, the dungeon, yeah, then it goes out into like the bigger dungeon, the bigger cave where I found the end portal. So yeah, I totally cheesed it, but it would have been impossible if I didn't, because it was behind a wall. And I would have never found it legitimately. Yeah. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to show you guys. I mean, I didn't really play a whole lot of Minecraft. I'm like, it takes a while. It takes a long time, because like, I'll finish a project and then I'm like, what do I do next? And then you can see already, if I start too early to build something and I just build it and it's in the wrong place, then I've doubled my work, because now I have to destroy the thing I just built and then rebuild it somewhere else. So like, it's kind of like annoying. I don't like to redo work that I've already done. It sucks. It's like one of the things I hate doing. It's to redo work that I've already done. But I do that a lot in Minecraft. Because it requires a lot of foresight, and I don't have a lot of foresight. I'll just plop something down and be like, oh, that's in the wrong spot. I have to redo it and move it again. I did that with my item sorter. I do that with like my everything, with my I did it how many times with that glow squid farm? I moved it like twice before I figured out where to put it down. So yeah, it's like, gotta be careful. Yeah, I have a lot to go over. I mean, it's not a lot. I kind of blew all my fire on Thursday. I was really, really angry on Thursday. All right, let me go home real quick. Yay! Let me show you my plan. Oh, I don't have my binocular or my my spyglass thing. Okay. My plan is to go to those mountains, make a left-hand turn. There's a mountain over there you can't see that I'm going to go to, and then I'm going to cut across to the mountain over there, and then hit that one, and then come across to that mountain right there. Maybe not that one. Maybe this one over here, and then hit that one and come across over here. It will circle my entire swamp. Yay! But I'm going to need like a lot of glass to make the train line go all the way around. So I need shulker boxes for that. Maybe not. Maybe I don't need shulker boxes, but it would be nice. Yeah, I got a new Elno husk. Check him out. This is a good one. This guy is in all gold, and he has a sword. So he transforms villagers really, really quickly into zombies. Elno husk. He doesn't even care about me. He's fixated on the villagers up there that he can sense. Does not even care about me. All right. Alrighty then. So what do we got going on here? What's going on? What's going on? Ooh. All right. The first thing I want to discuss is recently there was a court case in Florida, and as you know, Republicans have discovered this new word called woke. And for these Republicans, the word woke is a very, very bad word. It's a very, very bad word for Republicans. They hate the word woke. They hate it. And so what Republicans do now is they'll find something they don't like, and to indicate that it's a bad thing, they will affix the word woke in front of it to signify that whatever comes after woke is a bad thing. So for them, woke is bad. Well, eventually, because they're in court, a judge had to put their foot down. They said, look, guys, you guys are always using this word woke. Tell us, everyone, define it. Define this word woke. If you're going to use this word woke, you have to make sure everyone around you knows what you're talking about. And since this is a court, what you say matters. So the lawyers for Ron DeSantis came up with the definition, and let me give you the definition. I forgot where I got this from. I should be a little more consistent with it, but let me read this for you. Taryn Fensky, DeSantis's communication director, said woke was a slang term for activism, progressive activism, and a general belief, but that's wrong, an awareness of systemic injustices in the country. That's the thing we're supposed to believe is tearing the country apart. Belief in systemic injustices. There's more. Asked what woke means more generally, DeSantis's general counsel, Ryan Newman, said it would be the awareness of systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. So you'll see here that I crossed out the word belief because it's not a belief, right? It's only a belief if you're ignorant, if you don't know, right? So DeSantis's general counsel, Ryan Newman, and DeSantis's communication director, Taryn Fensky, are both pretty ignorant. They say it's a belief. That's because they don't know, that they're ignorant of facts. So I can, if people acknowledge that they're ignorant and they take steps to correct it, you can forgive ignorance if they take steps to correct it. All right. So in order to help out these people, I've gone ahead and crossed out their incorrect words and wrote in the correct word, awareness of. The awareness of. So woke, we can say that woke for Republicans, woke is a bad thing. Woke is a bad thing to Republicans. That's why they always affix it to something that they hate. So woke is a bad thing, a negative thing. And for them, woke means to be aware of the systemic injustices of the United States. It's bad. Republicans say it's bad to be aware of systemic injustices in the United States. You're not supposed to be aware of the systemic injustices in the United States. If you're walking down the street and you see a man beating up a little child and you see it, by seeing it, you become aware of it. And for Republicans, that awareness of a man beating a child, that awareness is bad. You are not supposed to be aware. It's not that the problem is not that a man is beating a child. That's not the problem. The problem is that you are aware that the man is beating the child. And so Republicans want to take steps to limit your awareness of what's happening. They don't want you to know. Maybe they'll put a barrier so you can't see the man beating the child. Maybe they'll pass a law saying it's illegal to talk about how the man is beating the child. Maybe they'll pass a law to say that you can't even teach children. You can't even teach it in schools that the man was beating the child. Because even knowing about it is wrong to Republicans. No issue. They have no problem. For them, the man beating the child, who cares? Who cares? Like, they don't even care. They don't care if an innocent child was being beaten by a man. That's not the issue for them. The issue is that you know about it. So we can look again at Ron DeSantis's council. And we get an understanding of what Republicans are about, what Republicans really care about. So for them, the biggest sin, the worst thing ever, is to be aware of what's happening. They don't want you to be aware. Education makes you aware. That's why Republicans are against education. So again, for Republicans, to be woke is to be aware of systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. Now, I keep saying they're ignorant because they are. They're if they're not ignorant, then they're racist. That's the problem. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be really, really nice to these Republicans, because the only other option other than you are terribly ignorant, completely uneducated and ignorant. You are ignorant. The other thing that's me being nice. That's me being nice. Because the other option is that you're a fucking racist. You're a piece of shit trying to fucking harm other Americans. Fuck you. Oh, I'm sorry. You're just ignorant. Okay, you're ignorant, and I'm going to teach you. So you're not ignorant anymore. So I just did a simple search. It didn't even take me that long. This is a story by Cheyenne Gall, Andy Kurtz, Michelle Marguerite Ward, Katie Balvec, Yoonji Han, and Annie Fu on December 31st, 2022, dude. This is super recent. 25 simple charts to show friends and family who aren't convinced racism still is a problem in America. Now, what's another word for racism? Systemic injustices. Right? When racism is built into the system, it's no longer an individual problem. It's a country problem. Okay. I'm just going to show you a few of these charts, right? Just a few of these charts. So the employment population ratio measures the employment population ratio measures the share of a demographic group that has had a job, and it's been lower for black people for years. So check this out. Black people, no matter what, have a hard time getting a job. Right? Between white, black, and Hispanics, black people had a real hard time getting a job. And when they lost their jobs, more of them lost their jobs. And when they recovered less well than everyone else. Is it that because of one racist person or a few racist people? No, dude, it's systemic. It's systemic. The unemployment rate also spiked for all racial groups in the U.S. during the coronavirus pandemic, and it remains relatively high for black Americans. So, yeah, they were already unemployed at a higher rate, and then when everyone lost their jobs, they didn't get their jobs back, and it didn't recover like everyone else. Black Americans are underrepresented in high-paying jobs. It's not because they're less qualified. It's the same qualifications. It's just that the racial, the systemic, it's just a system. There's colorism built into American society in that they will automatically, unconsciously give preference to these other racial groups based on colorism. It's built in. It's built in. It's a system. People of color, and especially black Americans, are severely underrepresented at the top of the corporate hierarchy. All throughout society, we're going to see the same pattern. It's not about one or two racist people, it's an entire system. Black Americans have historically been underrepresented in the highest echelons of government as well. Black Americans are like, 16% of the population, but they're never anywhere near that percentage represented in government. Black Americans have historically earned far less than white workers. Per capita, black Americans just earn less money. And that's because historically they have been an oppressed class of group of people. Historically, it has never changed. It has never been fixed in the United States. It started that way and it's never been fixed. It's systemic. Lower incomes mean that the poverty rate for black Americans is twice that of white families. The aggregate wealth, and over time, that means aggregate wealth. So look at this. Aggregate wealth white households have held historically far outstripped that held by the black community. And while it has increased for white people since the 1980s, it's remained stagnant for black people. Just look for yourself, guys. Look for yourself. One of the contributing factors to the household wealth disparity is student loans. So, what is this? Median household wealth among 25 to 40-year-olds. Actual. White people, because they need way less student loans to get by. The wage gap between races also interacts with the gender wage gap between men and women. Black women's annual earnings versus other races. That's systemic. That's systemic. That's not one or two racist people. That's a system. Black men, now here's where it gets interesting. Black men are roughly 5 times more likely to be in prison than their white counterparts, and nearly 13 times as likely in the age of 18 to 19 age group. Ratio of imprisoned rates of black men to white men by age. Black men are ages 18 to 19 are 12 times more likely to be in prison than white men of the same age. What contributes to this? It's the school to prison pipeline. That, like, even before they get to the age of 18, our society has made sure that they have contact with the carceral system. By a lot of times, they're already into the system a lot of times. So it's a pipeline. It's a pipeline set up from little kids straight into prison. That's the whole point of school to prison pipeline. Now, marijuana use rates are similar between white and black Americans, yet black Americans are 3.5 times more likely to get arrested on marijuana possession charges. So even though white people and black people use marijuana at the same rates, you're way more likely to go to prison as a black person for marijuana. Why? Why? Because it's systemic. Because our system is designed that way. The purpose of a system is what it does. And what does our system do? It incarcerates black men at way greater rates than everyone else. Historically, that's because black men were the slave class, and we've never fixed that. It's still inside of our society. It has not gone away. The racial disparity in marijuana arrests has actually gotten worse in recent years, even though more states are legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana. So we can see all throughout society, all over the place, systemic injustices, all over the place. It's not a question of do you believe in it, it's a question of are you aware of it. And for Republicans, that awareness is their greatest enemy. Black people are overwhelmingly more likely than white people to be under parole supervision, and they're more likely to be sent back to prison for minor infractions. And parole isn't free. You have to pay for that stuff. You have to pay for the ankle monitor on you. Like, it's ridiculous. And then plus you have to pay to show up at some random government building every week or whatever to check on you. Like, it's you as a poor person, it's really, really, really expensive. They find all sorts of additional charges to throw on top of you to make it so that you never get out from underneath the thumb of the government. Roughly half of those fatally shot by police are white because, you know, there's a whole lot of white people. But black Americans are fatally shot at a disproportionate rate compared to the representation in the U.S. population. So black people are shot way more, even though there's a tiny percentage of the total population. So all of that combined will show you, like, even though black people are like 38% of the prison population, but in the United States, they represent only 12% of the population. So they're more than doubly represented in the prison because our system is designed to imprison black people. That's what it's made for. The purpose of a system is what it does. And if our system imprisons black people at a rate way greater than anyone else, it's because our system is made that way. That's the purpose of it. That's systemic injustice. That's a systemic injustice. That's not a belief. That's not, that's like saying I believe the sun rises in the east. Even though that's exactly what it does, and then we can prove it, it's just a belief. No, dude, it's fact. It's fact. It's not a belief that there's systemic injustices in American society. It's a fact that there are systemic injustices in American society. So your dude right here, his number one enemy is to make sure is the awareness of these systemic injustices. He likes these systemic injustices. Why would someone want to defend systemic injustices? Why would someone want to hide? Why does someone want to stop the awareness of systemic injustices in the United States unless they wanted to preserve those systemic injustices? Who would want to preserve racial disparities in the United States? White supremacists. White supremacists. That tells me Ron DeSantis and his entire organization is a white supremacist organization because their number one enemy is the awareness of systemic injustices. Not the systemic injustices themselves, but the awareness of. It's not his problem. Isn't that there's a man beating a child on his front lawn. His problem is that you can see this man beating the child on the front lawn. So he wants to pass laws to make sure you can't see them beating children. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The child didn't do anything that deserves that. No child deserves to get beaten. No child deserves it. I don't care what the child does. No child deserves it. And so if you look at government as disciplining its children, the citizens, that's not right either. We've already done this. We made a war about it, that humans have rights. There are specific rights that cannot be violated by the government. And right now, the government's doing just that to black Americans, violating their rights all over the place. It's systemic. It's systemic. And we've identified a group of people who want to hide the awareness of that systemic injustice. That tells us exactly who they are. They're white supremacists. And if you support them, that means you support white supremacy. What do we call people who support white supremacy? White supremacists. Here's another example, right? So we already know Ron DeSantis and Florida Republicans are white supremacists. They've told us, right? They told us. They said, hey guys, our number one enemy is this awareness. You know, we do not want people to be aware of what we're doing. Because who's doing it? The government. The government of Florida. The government of Florida, controlled by Republicans, wants to hide the things it's doing, wants to stop the awareness of the things it's doing. Because who are the people, who's the entity that incarcerates black Americans? The government. The government incarcerates black Americans. So if Ron DeSantis is the representative of the government of Florida, and the government of Florida is using its powers to strip the rights away from black Americans, and Ron DeSantis, his number one concern is to make sure that you do not know that his government is stripping the rights from black Americans, what does that make Ron DeSantis? A white supremacist and an anti-American. So, but he's not alone, right? Ron DeSantis is not alone. That's just in the state of Florida. You have to see, though, this corruption has gone all the way up into the federal government. And they just come out, they just come right out and say it now. So, for example, we know right now that one of the big stories right now is the debt ceiling. Like, oh no, the United States there's this arbitrary limit for some reason, this arbitrary limit about the debt ceiling. And if the government, U.S. government doesn't take care of it, then it could have catastrophic consequences. So let's listen to the brand new leader of the Republicans, Kevin McCarthy. He knows about the number one weakness of the United States. Kevin McCarthy is very, very aware of what the weakness is of the United States.
The Biden family investigation of how committed to on that?
No, you're not wrong on that. But think for one moment. We cannot, one of the greatest threats we have to this nation is our debt.
Oh, McCarthy just said, the greatest threat to our nation is the debt. He knows, right? He knows because look what he did. I have to kill this one. All right, I'll kill it. Let me kill it. Dude, this is killing my video card. I can't really do it, or my operating system. All right. Okay. So he knows that in the 1950s, this is how the tax rates worked under Eisenhower. If you had nothing, you paid the lowest tax rate. The less money you had, the lower tax rate you paid. If you're over here, right? The way this is set up in American society was that the less money you had, the less money you paid in taxes. It was set up that the more money you had, the more money you paid in taxes. When this tax system allowed the United States to have enough money to create the interstate highway system. Before we had the interstate highway system, we had a bunch of old country roads like a spider web across the United States, and it was terrible. There was no direct way to get from one city to another. It was a bunch of country roads, and it was awful, and it made transporting goods and services across the United States a nightmare. Eisenhower, when he went over to Germany, he saw them use the Autobahn to create an efficient transportation network. And he's like, damn, that's a good idea. We should do the same thing in the United States. So he came back, became president, and was like, yo, let's keep this high tax rate on the rich so we can afford to pay for the interstate highway system, which he did, and that allowed the United States to flourish economically. That was great. What a great idea, Eisenhower. Right? In contrast to 1950s Eisenhower Republican. Right? In contrast, in 2018, Kevin McCarthy, who knows that the debt is the number one enemy of the United States, it's the number one weakness. He's like, damn, dudes, I'm a Republican. I'm Kevin McCarthy. I understand that the deficit is the number one weakness for the United States. So what does Kevin McCarthy do? He's like, I know the deficit is the number one weakness of the United States. So what does he do? In 2018, this is when the Republicans had the most power. They had just won the presidency with Donald Trump. They owned the House of Representatives, and they controlled the Senate. They had a trifecta. They could do whatever they wanted. Their greatest policy goals, they can push through, right, with sheer will, right? Even if the Democrats try to filibuster, they can't even filibuster because the Republicans will use this thing called reconciliation, which means you can't even filibuster it. Their greatest goal is what they're going to push through. So they mustered all their power. Kevin McCarthy knows that debt is the number one enemy of the United States. They mustered all their power together, and they passed the 2018 tax code. And what this 2018 tax code did was, the poorer you are, the poorest people pay more money. The poorest people are going to pay more money than billionaires. That's the brilliant idea of the Republicans. The poorest people pay higher tax rate than billionaires. Isn't that great? Isn't that fantastic for the Republicans? Because they know that debt is the number one enemy of the United States. They know it. They know. So what they want to do is make that debt as big as possible. That's the goal of the Republicans. Make that debt huge, because then it's a weapon. They know it's the American weakness. So they want to put as much pressure into that weakness as possible. So what do? Republicans defunded the IRS and gave them no money, because the IRS goes after rich people. Rich people are the people who don't pay their taxes. What do you mean rich people don't pay their taxes? Well, if you're like me or like most Americans, you get paid by payroll. Which means you get paid a wage, which means the company automatically deducts taxes away from you. You don't even get a chance to defraud Uncle Sam, because before you even see the money, they've taken it out and given it to Uncle Sam. You don't even get a chance. Right? So tax fraud by regular working people is real tiny. Working people pay their taxes. Working people pay, right? That's the deal. They pay their taxes. Working people pay their taxes. But if you're rich, you don't get paid on payroll. You have to report it yourself. And maybe you're honest, and maybe you're not. What's keeping you honest? The IRS. Because the IRS, if they see something, they'll audit you. Wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. Let me double check your stuff. And then, boom, now you're in trouble. Now you got problems. All right, but if you're honest, it's not really a big deal. I mean, it's kind of a bunch of work, but you're rich, so. But also, if you're rich, you owe a lot of taxes, so you have an incentive to lie about things. So you can use your resources to try to trick the IRS. Well, if you defund the IRS, they have way less manpower to go after those rich people. It's like, if the rich people throw up all these barriers because they're rich and they can do it, and the IRS is underfunded and understaffed, they're not going to have the manpower to go after rich people. So you're going to have a reduced revenue. Without a revenue, your deficit explodes. That's the reason why the Republicans want to defund the IRS, because the IRS goes after rich people. This is the result of defunding the IRS. Up here is why we had the interstate highway system. When we had a tax rate on rich people up here, that's interstate highway system. When it's down here, what do you think is going to go away? All our infrastructure, all the stuff that makes our country nice is going to go away, and it already is, because look at what happened with the coronavirus. Like, do we have vaccines all out there? Do we have free masks given away to everyone? Everyone should have a pack of N95 masks delivered to them monthly. Everyone should get it. Why haven't they done it? Oh, because this government's messed up. This government's messed up. We don't, like, it doesn't serve the people. It's not serving the people. And it expected the private sphere to take care of it. But there's a real big problem with entrusting your social services to private entities, in that private entities only really concerned about money. They only really want to make money. So all they're going to do is cut corners to make as much money as possible. They don't care about their goal is to make money. But for the government, our goal is to take care of our citizens. So the two goals are not in alignment. You can't, if the government, whose number one goal is to take care of people, tries to give the duties, that's government, over to private industry, what happens is the private industries, their goal is not taking care of their people. Their goal is to make money. So they will cut corners. In other words, they will cut people in order to make money. It's a bad idea to offload services that are meant to help people onto private industry. Here's an example. Tesla is a bad company. It makes a bad product. So in this video here, this is a video obtained by, oh man, this is super like laggy. What's wrong here? I can't even move it. Oh shit, the whole thing's crashing. Don't crash, don't crash. Okay. What if I play it? Can't even play it now. Okay, check it out. This is a video obtained by Ken Clipperstein of The Intercept. And this wasn't free for him. This cost him, because right after he posted it on Twitter, Elon Musk shadow banned him so that no one could see what was happening. But Elon Musk announced that his cars, Teslas, could do full automatic driving. Full automatic driving. Hours after Elon Musk said this, on the Bay Bridge in San Francisco, a car, his Tesla car, engaged in automatic driving, merged into the fast lane and hit its brakes, just stopped right in the fast lane, and then caused an 8-car pileup behind him because it was on automatic driving mode. Watch. Watch the car merge into the fast lane and then stop. And then everyone crashed behind him. Look at those crashes behind him. Now, why are you beta testing stuff on public roads? Why are you beta testing software on public roads? That software is obviously not ready, and you should be sued to Kingdom Come for putting out software that could potentially kill a bunch of people. And it wrecked like a whole bunch of people's cars who had nothing to do with Tesla. They were just driving to work, and all of a sudden your Tesla machine decides to ruin their day. Like, Tesla should be sued for putting that out there. Why are they testing this stuff on public roads? It should be done on private roads under supervision, not on public roads. Like, Elon Musk is trying to externalize costs of his company onto the government, onto the public. But that's what private industries do. They try to cut corners and externalize costs. So if we entrust people like Elon Musk to take care of Americans with public services, who, like, our goals are divergent, and it's going to cause massive numbers of problems that, like, we're already seeing. The solution is not to give billionaires more power, it's to take away power from billionaires. Let's see. Yeah, look at here. I wasn't lying, right? The House is literally voting. The Republicans literally voted to abolish the IRS because the IRS goes after their rich friends, and their goal is to keep white supremacy and wealth concentration, rich people. Okay. These segues are awful. I have no nice transition from one topic to the next. Okay, real quick. Yeah, COVID. Look at COVID, right? These missing people who are never coming back. This is where we should be, but this is where we're at. And people are saying, geez, why does labor seem to have so much power? Why is there a chronic labor shortage? It's because millions of people have died. Millions of people who would normally be working, they have died of coronavirus. Like that coronavirus that Donald Trump said wasn't going to happen. The coronavirus that Donald Trump said, oh, only 15 people are going to get it, and that's it. No, dude, it killed millions and millions of people, and it's going to continue to kill millions and millions of people. See, out here in the West, in little tiny Salem, Oregon, I'm isolated in my apartment. I don't ever leave the house. I don't know what's going on in the hospitals. Our rate has been falling. But I'm reading over in the East Coast that it's been going up really, really high. And then I go see in China that they changed strategy to the letter rip strategy. So I'm what's going on, guys? I'm getting conflicting signals. But the economy doesn't lie in that we have a giant labor shortfall because millions of people died. And a lot of those people who died were quote, quote, essential workers who we forced to work and then didn't give them proper payment, proper protection. We didn't give them the vaccines number one first. We didn't do anything right. We just sacrificed them. Why? Because they tend to be minorities, blacks. Oh, that's black Americans. Oh, there's that systemic injustices that you don't want to talk about again. What else have we got? Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell struck a particularly somber note at his press conference earlier this week when he mentioned that one reason the labor market is so tight right now is that many workers died from COVID-19. Economists have theorized for a while about the impact of COVID deaths on the labor market. Now, research has started to emerge, and key public figures like Powell are starting to talk about it explicitly. Close to 500,000 who would have been working died from COVID, Powell said, while talking about the U.S. labor shortage. In a footnote into a speech he gave on November 30th, Powell estimated that 400,000 working-age Americans died in excess of what was anticipated pre-pandemic. And then that's not even talking about the millions of people who are now disabled with long COVID. Because there's a thing called long COVID, and it's disabling, and it's real. And those disabled long COVID people aren't working full time anymore. And they're drawing from the Social Security Fund to supplement their income because they can't work because COVID wrecked them. And our government really hasn't done a whole lot to protect its people. At the very least, government, you could be sending out monthly packets of N95 masks to encourage people to wear masks. At the very least, who cares if they throw them away, right? You can't make people wear masks, but if they have them, they're more likely to wear them. Okay. Another whiplash here. Another whiplash. The global average temperature. The last 8 years that we've had were the hottest years on record. So our average temperature is going up and up and up and up. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. This is why I keep harping on doing the molten salt nuclear reactor. We need to get off of oil. The sooner the better. The sooner we get off of oil, the better. And the way we're going to get off of oil is through the molten salt nuclear reactor. because that's the only source of power that outstrips oil right now. It's the yeah, we have renewables, but we can't export renewables. And renewables have problems with have problems creating a stable baseline generation. We need nuclear power. We need molten salt nuclear power plants for baseline generation and to dispose of our current nuclear waste, because that's what they do. Molten salt nuclear reactors will eat our current nuclear waste, and we're going to have to make them eventually. The sooner the better. Because even if we get the carbon out of the air, we have a problem with our oceans. How are we going to cool our oceans? You can't just cool oceans. Water takes a long time to cool down. And everything, all life on Earth is, like, a lot of life on Earth is based on the health of the oceans. If we kill our oceans, it's going to be terrible for life on land. So even if we cool down the air, we still have to worry about the oceans, which are not going to be cooled down. Like, what's going to happen to the polar bears and walruses? Okay, what do I got here? All right. Wee! That's kind of like I'm putting out there a lot of scary stuff, right? But it's because I feel that the awareness has been suppressed. That I'm aware. I understand that there's entire organizations whose entire history has been dedicated to the suppression of awareness. So that what I'm doing is contrary to everything they've been working for generations. So it may feel daunting and it may feel like a lot, but it has to be done. So in that vein, let's go talk about black holes. Now, I told you a while ago that with black holes, the event horizon, like what happens once you go over the event horizon of a black hole, is that space and time flip. And then I didn't understand what that meant. But I'm like, it happens, but I don't understand what it means. Well, I kind of like looked at it more, and now I kind of get it. So I saw another video. I should have got the video, but you have to look at it. You have to look at it a little bit. I have to look at it differently. Okay, so here's a black hole, right? But remember that we don't always see every dimension. So from our perspective, looking at a black hole, it looks like this. Where space is normal, and there's just a region of space that's just weird. But everything else around it's normal, so I don't know what's going on. But if you were flying into the black hole, it would be totally different. What happens is that this grid is gravity. And so when out here, your movement, you have movement, and you can measure the movement, and it's going by at a constant rate of time. But when you get close to a supermassive object, it bends the fabric of space and time. So that what this is that you're falling down a gravity well. So from outside here, we're looking at this white dot falling in, and it looks like it's slowing down as it gets closer, because it looks like the distance between it and the black hole it's not gonna make it. It instead of going straight across, it slows down. But what's actually happening from a higher dimension, we can see, is that it's falling down a gravity well. So that it's not actually slowing down, it's rolling downhill. It's going down a hill. But if you're looking at it straight down, you can only see this. You can only see movement laterally. You can't see movement straight down. So even though the time, its speed is preserved, it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. But we see it from here, from up high, and it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. But all of a sudden, it looks like it slows way down and stops. From our perspective, like, why? What happened? But from the perspective of the dot, it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's still going 1,000,000 miles an hour. But now all its speed has been changed from movement in space to movement in time. So that from our perspective, this thing, because we only it looks like it got frozen. It stops moving because all its speed got transformed into time. From the perspective of the dot falling into the hole, it's still going really, really fast, but that speed, really, really fast, has been transformed into time. So what's actually happening is that time is going really, really, really fast. Time is going super, super fast. While up here for us, time is stopped. Down there for the people in the hole, it's going super, super fast. All their million-mile-per-hour speed was transformed into time. It feels like normal time for them, but it's actually going 1,000,000 miles an hour. I don't know how to. I mean, in that way, I can see how time and space flip. I don't know if I've explained it to you very well. Supermassive objects bend the yeah, I don't know. I just think that's cool. No, I don't know what you can do with it other than see that as another perspective. If you look at it in another dimension, it makes sense. But if you look at it from just one dimension, it doesn't make sense. If I just look at it from outside and I'm watching, it's better if I can actually build it, huh? So I've got this supermassive black hole. And from the perspective out here, I'm far away from it, right? I'm far away from it. Everything's flat, space is flat, and time is normal rate of speed, right? Normal blocks. I think it's like, I don't know how many, each block is a meter. So 1 second, one. I don't know, you're like 3 blocks, 3 meters a second? Is that like 1, 2, 3? Yeah, about 3 meters a second. Okay. But we're going to pretend this here, this item is a singularity. It's a singularity. It's a supermassive black hole. So from out here looking at it, it's like, yeah, that's a big black hole because all the light falls into it. Okay, but pretend that actually this is the event horizon. So it's gravity well, it's gravity, it's dense, it's super dense. So looking at it, it just looks like a black hole. But if you weigh it, it's super heavy. So it bends all the gravity straight down. So it's a super, super deep hole. It's a super deep hole in gravity. So an object flying, all its speed, it's going, what, 3 meters a second? 3 meters a second? Once it hits this event horizon, it starts falling down the black hole of gravity. So it's falling, but in a different dimension. I don't. And so it still keeps its speed, right? It's still going 3 meters a second, but that speed, that energy, 3 meters a second, gets transformed into time once it flips over this lip over the event horizon. It's still going straight down, traveling that graph at the same speed, but the graph isn't flat anymore. The graph is like bent downwards into another dimension. So you're traveling really fast into another dimension. Your speed is transformed into time. I don't know. So it makes me wonder, do you just reach the end of time when you go into a black hole? Because your speed gets transformed like endlessly into time. So you speed up faster and faster and faster. I guess only from the outside observer. If you're in it, it doesn't change rate. From your frame, from your frame, if you're in it and if you're inside of it from your frame of reference, time is always going to be the same. You're not going to feel it. It's going to feel like the same. If you're in, okay, so yeah, it depends on frames of reference. So if you're in the black hole and you're falling in, it will feel like time's going at normal speed, but everything will happen any faster. So it'll feel like normal time, but a year will go by, and you're like, what? How could a year go by? Like barely a second happened. What do you mean a year just went by? Right? But if you're out here and you see somebody fall into the black hole, you don't actually see them fall in. You see them touch the event horizon, and then they freeze. They're frozen. They don't move because all of their speed got transformed into time. And then so yeah. That's the last thing you ever know of them is when they get frozen. Anyways, I don't know if that makes any sense to you. I just get tripped out by it. It trips me out. The universe. Awareness. Yeah, be aware. You have to be aware of things. Because if you're not aware of them, then you can't fix them. And I've shown you, I've proven to you that the other team knows what they're talking about. White supremacists are aware that there are systemic injustices. They don't want you to be aware of systemic injustices. Their enemies, the thing they want to stop is not the systemic injustice. They want to stop your awareness of the systemic injustices, because they want those systemic injustices to remain in place because it serves their interests. What are their interests? White supremacy. All right, Americans, it's time to make a choice. I mean, it's always time to make a choice, right? You're making a choice every moment of your life. It's like, even if you don't make a choice, that's making a choice. But be aware of what's going on. Like, Donald Trump and the coup leaders have not been held accountable yet. So there's every indication they're going to try to overthrow American democracy again. I mean, what's to stop them? They got away with it the last time. Of course they're going to try again. So you have to be ready for when they try again. And you have to remember, it's not going to look like the last time. Like, what were they doing in Brazil? Like, it looked exactly like the last time. But yeah, be aware, Americans. Yeah, and, remember the dream. The dream was multiracial democracy, where all Americans can live together in peace and harmony. Yeah, we all want that, right? But the only way we're going to get that, the only way you get peace is through justice. You can't get peace and harmony without justice. You can't get it. So if you truly, truly want peace, if you truly want harmony, then what you really, really want is justice. Until then, Pogokiro out. Peace. Stop.